Welcome, everybody. It is the Monday hybrid live show. Everything, everywhere, all at Nice. That's right. So much Nice World Champs to go about this evening. I would like to welcome to the program, first up, just made it guy.
Just made it.
Straight home from work. Dave Claxton, a.k.a. Ugly Dave, all the way from Canada. Hey, buddy.
Hey, yeah, it was good. I actually got stuck in traffic for a little while, so I was starting to wonder.
And Anthony, our other almost always co-host, will be here shortly. He is across the pond, but also joining us across the pond, as promised, the winner of the Hyrox World Championships contest, and the only one out of 130 something votes, was hoping to get over 200. That's fine. We got 100 and change. The only one to correctly select Meg and Alex is Kieran Clancy from Pulp Friction. Is that what we call it?
Yep.
That's
Friction
cool.
gym here, based in Ireland. I actually I've seen Anthony last night in Nice, so he'll probably be tired if he's had flown home from Nice last night.
Did he's still there?
He's still there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Did you tell him you were going to be on the? Did you tell him you were going to be on the show?
No, I didn't. I wasn't too sure if I was going to be on the show or not. This is a bit surreal, basically. Yeah. So, no,
Because
pretty
you're
cool.
talking because you're talking to the famous Dave Clancy. I mean, Dave Claxton.
Dave Clancy. I like Dave Clancy better. I think that works.
Also, I was a bit concerned, wondering if you're going to make me explain my first choice pick of Meg Jacoby to Anthony and not pick his wife. For
all right, well, good. Let's cover that one while he's not here. How did you know? There were plenty. Listen, there were plenty of Meg picks. There were plenty of Alex picks, but there were no Alex and Meg picks. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I honestly, it's just I probably went with my heart on both of them. Really, I think it's sort of probably looking to go for the underdog. I think, and looking to probably want a bit of change for this year after like the last few years of consecutive wins for both Lauren and Hunter. So I think I just went with my heart, and it was cool. It was cool to see. It was an amazing race. It was really just quite a spectacle they put on in Nice over the weekend. It was really impressive. To sort of
we are going to get into it a lot, but I do want to say that I went with my heart, which was Dylan, and
Me too.
Dylan let me down. Here's the great news about America.
Dylan did not let me down, but I went with Dylan. Dylan never lets me down.
Here's the great news about America. We swept the top of the women's podium, and we swept the bottom of the men's. So if you include Magita's DNF, okay? Sorry, Kent's DNF, and then Magita and Rich, we swept the bottom. So, sometimes you eat the bar, and sometimes the bar eats you. But Dave, how did your picks go?
I think. Well, I mean, I had all three ladies on the podium.
We all did. That was the easy part.
No, come on. Everybody had Vivian in there.
Oh, hang on, let me go look. I'll go look while you're talking.
Yeah. So I had Vivian. She's the only one I had in the right spot. so I, as usual, my picks were probably pretty terrible. But I do well in these drafts, but I don't do very good in the just pick them out right.
Should we switch? Should we go draft?
No, somebody else does that.
Oh, what they wrote the book? They wrote the book on drafts. I want to quickly pull up this form.
So is Carrion? Is that how you say it?
Kieran. Yeah.
Kieran, did you pick Team Ireland as well to even out your good picks and bad pick? Make a bad pick with it?
Yeah. Well, no, they put on a good performance. They were great, and they were. That was exciting to watch last night as well. Like,
well, and they were smart too. They were the ones that got a sponsor and got branded T-shirts, and they did it right.
Yeah,
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 that
they looked professional. They looked the part.
Well,
Do
they
you
did
know
good.
JP from Deca? I mean, from Ram?
Who you asking me?
No, Kieran.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Matt. What did you say?
Do you know Kieran from Ram? JP from Ram.
JP from Ram. Yeah, actually, we bumped into him on Saturday night. We were talking to him.
I thought you guys would all, live down the street from each other.
Yeah, I didn't know him until I met him on Saturday night. Now I know him. So
You don't
Ireland is quite small.
You don't all hang out with the Peaky Blinders?
No.
So you got to tolerate this crap.
That's
It happens all the time. This is just par for the course.
It's not that big of a country, and there's only so many of you that do Hyrox. I don't know. I thought you all knew each other.
Yeah, well, actually, I think there were about 86 Irish athletes competing in Hyrox over the weekend.
So a lot more than there were Canadian athletes.
How many?
I
did
think
you guys
so. I
send
think
over,
like
Dave?
obviously.
Canadian, I don't know, like a dozen, maybe less.
All right, hang on. I'm trying to pull up these bloody
Probably some.
pics. Have you done a Deca?
Oh,
Kieran.
He's talking to you, Kieran.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that either, Matt. Sorry, you broke up.
Is my signal okay?
You're okay. You're okay. Yeah, he said, have you done a Deca yet? Nope, still not getting them.
Sorry.
I think it's his signal's a little weak.
I can't tell if he's trying to listen or he's trying to connect. Kieran, are you with us, my friend?
Yep.
Have you done a Deca?
Sorry, I can't hear what you said.
I gotta get a dry erase board and write it out.
Yeah.
Where's the chat?
All right, we're going to talk about Deca Austin before Anthony gets here, and then we'll spend 2 to 7 hours on. Oh, he just got here. We'll talk about Deca Austin before Anthony gets here, and then we'll spend. Did you hear that, Anthony? Just heard your speaker go off. Oh, he just got here. Did you hear that, Anthony?
I like the shot of Anthony. This is his upward shot. Ooh, the keyboard shot.
Now looking at his keyboard. For those of you hearing this podcast version, you are missing out on some great stuff here. First of all those pauses are going to be edited out. And then I don't know if you're going to hear Anthony listening to me, listening to him. Did you catch all that, Anthony?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Can you guys hear me? Is that
I
okay?
said, you sound great. Kieran, we don't know. We hope he's with us. He looks
sounds
great.
good.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
He can hear me unless I ask him a question. Then he can't hear me.
Okay.
But Anthony, I was trying to get cover Deca before you got here, and I promised to make it quick.
I
Oh, you typed it in for him on the private chat. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? All right, we're going to quickly cover Deca Austin because we are an equal opportunity hybrid show. We're not just the Hyrox show. We're not just the Hyrox engine. We're sometimes the Deca engine. So what do you want to say about Austin? Nick Riker, first race back in a minute, comes back and wins for the men.
Yeah, Nick looked great. Nick looked like, actually in the beginning of the race, Nick looked like he might be off. Like he wasn't at his best. And then it turned out he was just playing it really quite smartly and saved it and kicked on the back half and put in a good race. It wasn't a PR for him, but it was a solid race, especially for his opener on the year. But he looked good. He looked solid. He was like 30-20 something, his normal spot.
I did not watch the coverage. I only saw the they sent me pictures, and now I realize I never posted them. I meant to post them late of the day because so much was happening with Hyrox. Did you watch the coverage? Were you a commentator? You could have been a commentator, Dave. For all I know.
I did not commentate. I did not commentate on this one. I did watch, and one of the things that probably the best part for me was watching a really excellent race between the mixed relay, the mixed doubles. It was Alex Walker and her partner Dylan. and they had a commanding lead through the first half. And their biggest rival was Heather White and Dustin Needham. And Heather and Dustin made a massive comeback on the bike, and then just kept chipping away, past them on the tank, and then they went into the burpees like 2 seconds apart, and it was about a 1 burpee win for Alex and Dylan. And it was just a great race and a great finish, and a lot of fun to watch. As most of the Deca relays are a lot of fun to watch.
Dustin Needham does a race, I think, every weekend. He does almost every Spartan, and then he does every Deca, and I think jumps in some ultras as well. Shout out Dustin Needham. How was the burpee form? How are things looking in the judging category?
It was better. It was definitively better. I mean, I would say it might have been one of the best ones I've seen as far as for form goes for burpees. I didn't get caught. I didn't catch anything crazy going out. There's every now and again there's a couple that I'm like, yeah, that one's a little sketchy, but nothing like the last one we saw. Everything was much more above board. So yeah, there was like very like no controversy, and it just, you know, it looked like a good event. When I first watched the men's and women's in the morning, it looked like it was pretty sparse. But by the time we watched the relay in the afternoon, the place looked packed. So
no rams went flying.
No flying rams. Everybody was setting them down very nicely. Like I said, Nick came in there, and then Isaac had a good race and came third. And old man Glenn Race looked awesome, just killing it.
Represent Glenn.
How'd Isaac end up?
Isaac ended up third. He didn't have his best day, that's for sure. I think he was having a hamstring issue or something he mentioned afterwards. But
Just curious. He won the first two, right? So both sub 30 or sub 30, just over 30, and now 32. You said.
Yeah, he was probably I don't know if it was 32, but maybe mid 31s, high 31s. But yeah, he was definitely not 100% for that race. So it was all right. And then Alex Walker dominated in the women's race. She had a really good run with Allison Outlaw coming second, and then Allison Morrison, I think, in her first Deca coming third with Heather White. And, you know, I'm a big Heather White fan. Had a good comeback and came fourth, which is very good. She set like a 2-minute PR for Heather. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Do we know what sport this new Allison came from?
No, I don't know much about her. I didn't get to watch too many of the interviews, but she looked solid. She definitely was new, and you could tell, but she ran well. So I'm going to say she's got some kind of running background.
What's her last name? I'm going to look her up real quick.
I think it's Morrison.
Morrison? Is it Muscart?
No, that's J-Fit.
Okay. Okay. Is it Morrison the Merrier?
I have no idea. Could be.
This says former heptathlete turned triathlete.
Could be. Tall girl, dark hair.
Allison Morrison. She looks dark. Well, no, that's light. I'm bad at this.
Yeah.
Never ask me. I don't know.
I didn't.
I was saying in the future. Never ask me.
Anyway,
Kieran,
yeah, it looked like a good event. It was a lot smoother looking than the last one, and no giant controversy. But obviously, pales in comparison to what was going on elsewhere.
Kieran, have you ever done a Deca?
No, I haven't actually. It still hasn't properly taken off here in Ireland yet. There are some affiliates that have done Deca Strongs and some Deca Miles, but there hasn't been a Deca Fit yet. So,
would you like to try one, or are you just all in on the Hyrox?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think with just the sort of growth of Hyrox here in Ireland, similar to the UK, I'd imagine when they do sort of make their way over here and get set up, it'll be quite popular.
So to bring you up to speed, Anthony, Kieran is here because he won our contest, and I promised the winner of the contest. Oh, and you're going to get some Resolute Coffee. So I will take a quick moment to say this show is sponsored by Resolute Coffee, and it's only taken me, this many weeks to figure out I can just stick that beautiful logo right in the corner. And luckily it doesn't cover anything important of Dave's, right? There's nothing over there that's important.
No.
I can move you out of the way anyway. Look at that.
There you go.
How about the background with the agenda we usually have? Is that not existent today?
One
Well,
thing at a
listen,
time.
listen. I don't know if you saw, but I just posted a deep dive article on basically the entire season of Lauren versus Mag, then the World Championship, and I started that this morning and was like, this will take me about an hour. It took me all day, partly because it to get it right takes a while, and secondly because I get interrupted 100 times and I have to change coffee shops and do other things. But the most important thing to me was like finishing that, and then so we don't have the agenda today. Sorry.
I see your background is different today. You're not at a coffee shop.
No, I'm at I could never do this at a coffee shop. Everyone would hate me. I'm at a co-working spot, and there's different rooms, and this one has I've been in this room before. This is a nice big room. I'm not in sometimes I'm in the little tiny
your little cubicle, yeah.
But anyway, let me finish my shout out for Resolute, saying that Resolute Coffee is amazing. You can order it ground, you can order it beans, you can get some cold brew, you can get an amazing mug that Anthony and I both have. Do you have one yet, Dave?
No, but I got the hot sauce, and you never give love to the hot sauce. The hot sauce.
I love the hot sauce. I also love the hot sauce. So you'll be getting. Kieran, are you more of a grounds guy or a beans guy?
I like brown coffee. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you'll be getting some sent your way. Kieran was also close your ears, Anthony. The only one to select both Meg and Anthony. Lots of people. And Alex, lots of people picked Alex. Lots of people picked Meg. Nobody picked both, if you can believe it. I don't know what the odds are on that, but he successfully picked those two. So good job.
Anthony, I had the wrong pick.
I had Lauren and Meg. I had the same picks you did almost. I had Lauren, Meg, Vivian. And so I was almost right, but so did a lot of people. So it means nothing. Yeah, I only had two right.
I wonder, did anyone have JK in their top three?
I think I had him in my top five.
Top five, yeah.
I had him in the top three.
Yeah.
Besides you had him winning.
Yeah. And he was so close. Like, just needed a little bit more time.
If he had another station in a run, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, even just like 50 more wall balls, maybe.
Well, there's so much to talk about. Kieran, our special guest, would you like to go over the women first or the men first? Because we can spend a lot of time on both of these races.
Yeah, let's do the women first then.
Okay, let's do the women first. They were up first on the day, which certainly helped. For some reasons we'll get to later, it helped the men if you did in fact watch the women's race. I'm pretty intimately involved since I actually spent as much time as I did today looking at splits and looking at who was leading when. I think if you had asked me how far back Lauren was, I would have said fifth. It was actually seventh that she left.
Eighth.
Not according to the board. Not according.
Right, because she passed the timer before Amy, but Amy had finished the station before her.
So in the rock zone, you mean?
Yeah, like as the transition happened.
So like the run after a sled to where the timing is.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like Anthony should go last on this because he probably has the most.
Actually, I would like to go last because I'm very, very curious. I've not watched any of the coverage. I've not seen any of the commentary. I completely didn't watch any of it because I'm very curious what the outside perspective is versus like my own being here and talking to people.
I can tell you I haven't watched the actual commentary except for the chaos part that happened at the end because I basically missed it live because I was like 20 seconds behind. But I can tell you that our crew of 6, at some point, I don't know what station, I said, well, it's clear that Lauren's not going to win, but I don't know if the podium's totally gone yet. And I think at some point somebody said, I think so. I have to go back and listen. Somebody said, I don't know, it's going to be a lot to get back to the podium. And then you just kind of start seeing the comments come in as it went on. Like there she is. Like there she is. But I still don't think anybody thought at the wall balls she was gonna make the podium. I mean, it was definitely like Meg's gonna win, and now let's look at these two, and how are they? Because they came in almost the same time.
Yeah. No, I mean, what was it? She left the sled pull a minute 15 behind Vivian in second.
Yeah.
And then came into the wall balls 25 seconds back of second.
So just for a quick like eye test. The women came into the wall balls like this. Meg 56.36. Okay, this is into the wall balls. Linda 59.34. Vivian 59.37. So they're 3 seconds apart. Viola 59.38. 1 more second apart, right? Then Lauren a minute 10. Then Kate a minute. A minute even 10 seconds. No,
Just
now
60-10.
60-10. Thank you. And Kate Davey 60-13. So that's the top 6, and that would not be the final 6. But that is fucking nuts. And again, it was so much was happening that I don't even think I could have told you that without looking. I just knew that Linda, Vivian, and Viola were all right there. It's actually pretty fun to watch our watch along because everyone's faces is like, oh, now that she's like, it went down, it went back up. It's actually fun to watch us kind of lose our minds. But where were you, Kieran? Were you in the house during that race?
Yeah, so we were seated directly in front of the sled push, sled pull area. So yeah, it was quite an interesting sort of place to be. Yeah, I suppose like when Lauren came in and started the sled pull, there was definitely sort of noticeable sort of difference in effort required to pull the sled. Like everyone seemed to be moving it quite easily than compared to Lauren. It seemed to be quite, I don't know, was it like an issue? Carpet, sleds, whatever. It just seemed a lot more effort was required on Lauren than the rest of the athletes, really. Because what position did she come into in the sled pull? In
second, right?
Second, yeah. And what she left in what position? Was it like 7th or 8th?
That's where she finished at 8th and then came out of it 7th. So,
well, I think she was a professional and graceful about it and said, I don't know, but now that we're all here, can we say it has to be the fucking equipment and or the rug? Wasn't her. If it was her, she'd be like, you know what I mean? That it would have affected her differently. Like maybe if she was holding her leg funny or something. But I mean, don't you think, Dave, it clearly was like she got the bad fucking lane? Because didn't Hunter have the same fucking bad lane? Just his difference wasn't his gap just wasn't as big.
So he would have had the bad lane, so she would have had the bad lane on the push. Because that would have been the first lane, and then when she came in second into the pull, right? Because she didn't have a great push either, did she? Comparative,
I don't know. I'm very curious in like what the external like view of it is. That's what I'm waiting for.
Most people are saying she got a shit lane.
I know that the pull was, what was it? 5 and change.
My opinion is highly colored. Of what I'm gonna say, so I don't want to like say it before you guys tell me what is going on.
If her normal pull is 3 and change and this one's 5 and change, to me that's pretty no brainer. And again, if she doesn't look particularly labored and everyone else isn't 2 minutes slower than normal or whatever percentage slower than normal, it's the fucking lane. I mean,
and it's not a fitness thing because obviously it was demonstrated that she came back so strong afterwards, but it definitely looked like she got a stinker of a lane. And yeah, Hunter did have a similar lane, and it looked like he got a bit of a stinker too. Like he had a rough pull as well. But
I talked to Hunter. I talked to Hunter. So Lauren and Hunter had the exact same lanes on the push and the pull.
Yeah,
because they both came in second.
They both were first to the push and second to the pull.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they both had uncharacteristically bad pushes and pulls.
Pushes and pulls.
Atrocious.
Not bad, just slower. Like,
not atrocious, but
well, I think the pull is atrocious. Again, if it's a 2-minute difference, and your whole field fucking goes by you, then that's atrocious.
Yeah,
yes?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't want to say anything about it just because it's over. Like I'm not. You can't complain about it. I do think it needs to be something that Hyrox at least addresses and like acknowledges that, hey, there's some big freaking discrepancies between them, but I don't like it. I think.
So
I think the biggest thing is that the fans should be upset that they missed out on an opportunity.
Well, listen, I think you would be more free to speak if it wasn't your wife's lane, because you're very even keel. You call it like you see it. When it's good, you praise them. When it's bad, you don't, and you say what's what. But I feel
before we go into it, I'll explain it. So there was a different sled for push than there was for pull. Like there was a push sled for everyone and there was a pull sled for everyone. They didn't like use the exact same sled. Right, and there was an empty lane of carpet.
Usually they just take off.
Yeah, usually they pull it out and then do that. They didn't do that. There was one push sled and one pull sled for everybody. So everybody had two sleds like next door to each other, right? There was a I don't know how I can say this without giving away who it was. There was an athlete who targeted a certain lane because they knew it was easier. And so they would let people pass them in order to get into a certain lane that was known to be easier because they had tested it beforehand. And that should not be a strategy.
Hang on.
It strikes me that they were even allowed to test it beforehand.
They were all allowed to test the lanes in the briefing. It wasn't like just one athlete and not the others. But like, if you know one lane is...
I thought it said in the briefing document, you go where we tell you to go.
No, yeah, you go as you come in, right? So the first athlete has to go to the first lane, second athlete to the second lane, third athlete to the third lane, fourth, fifth, so on and et cetera, right? But it's as you enter, that's the lane you go to. You don't have assigned lanes.
So if you're in a position and you know the better lane is a little further back, you can drop.
Yeah, so if you're in fifth place and you know the good lane is 6, you go to 6 instead of going to 5th. You let somebody pass you. There was an athlete that did that, and it worked out for them. In both the things. And I don't feel...
What I got from that, Anthony, was I'm surprised that they let anybody test the sleds beforehand at all, other than in the practice area. That kind of surprises me. I didn't know they would do that.
Me too. I didn't think so either.
Well, I mean, good they did, but maybe bad they did. But the sleds, first off there, like what I did do is I looked at the average of the past... I took the top 10 women, and I looked at their past 4 races and their average sled push and average sled pull times. And then compared to what they did here. One of the things you notice is everybody's a little slower. Usually it's like 20 to 30 seconds. But I do know that I talked to Hunter and I obviously talked to Lauren and like other people, but Lauren, from the average sled push, her average of her past 4 races, which includes one race with the center equipment that was DC, which everybody in DC thought, oh, those are slow sleds, right? Like here, the sleds were heavy. All the athletes, the biggest feedback was, wow, these sleds were heavy. But I think there's two things that should be addressed. And the first thing is consistency between lanes. Like, it has to be consistent between the lanes. Otherwise, you're running different races. And the second thing is there has to be consistency between the venues.
They never will admit it, though. They're on record saying, we don't care. We think it's all the same.
Right. And I actually was on that same train. Like, I don't care. But you have to have a reasonable expectation of what the sleds will feel like. Like, if these turn out to be the heaviest sleds of the season in the World Championship, these athletes that have qualified, like, they have to have a reasonable expectation of what to train for, for their World Championship run. So if you come out with something that's completely different, and I actually think it was the heat and the humidity in there.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the biggest causes of it.
If everything was the same, if everything was the same, then yeah, it wouldn't matter. Go practice. If it's not, which we've proven one lane to the next cannot, New York, right? There were 2 men that pushed a sled, like the top 8 of 10 men pros, not elites, pushed their normal time. My buddy and his friend both pushed a 16-minute. My sled was double the time. Then you can't. You got to let them practice in the area, and that's it. Because what gamesmanship? Fuck you. Go do the hard one. That sucks.
But like, if you
smart by them, by the athlete, but it sucks that Hyrox.
But that shouldn't be a strategy.
I know.
That's where
that's what I'm saying.
And if it is going to be a strategy, Hyrox can't make them go to a certain lane. First come, first serve, whatever lane you want. Then, okay, different lanes. Let's do it.
Or if they either have to be the same, which they're not going to be, or you don't get to touch anything until race day. Just like Spartan would let you throw the spears. People would sneak over there. Or like late in the day, a volunteer tells you, oh, this is the dry side of the wall. But the first people through, you just have to like go do whatever it is. I'm even more upset now.
I'll just go back. I don't want it to be like a sled thing. First off, I'm going to say I think Meg ran a great race, and
no one's taking anything away from her.
She did great. Like, there's nothing she can do about it. Hyrox needs to address it though. What's up, Sean? I met Sean this weekend. He slammed 3 shots of gin before his race and was only one of 2 men in the men's pro to go under 60. Very Irish.
That's what you guys do? Gin you slam?
I think that's what he said.
I thought whiskey is your thing.
That's for the
pre-workout.
Yeah, gin's a pre-workout.
So we talked about the sled thing many times, and not just from venue to venue. Venue to venue, to me, I've almost given up. That's a lost cause. But lane to lane, man.
But there has to be reasonable expectation venue to venue.
But, I mean, I'm just going lane to lane. That is just ridiculous that it's not the same, and that's gone on for a while. But we've addressed it. The problem being, though, and I think this is, and I'm big on saying this is an issue. This is how I'd fix it. This is an issue. This is how I'd fix it. I've only ever had one suggestion for fixing a sled, and I don't even know it would work. But my thing was take away the carpets and put sliders on the bottom of the sleds, and then you're using the floor that you have. I
actually agree. I don't like to bring up a problem unless we have solutions. And I've been thinking as much as I could for like a couple days on what solutions there could be. I've kind of come up with 3. 2 of them I don't think will ever happen for different reasons. I think the number one thing they could do would be, instead of sled push, do a yoke carry. Instead of sled pull, do rope climbs. That way eliminate the friction completely. But that'll never happen. So instead, it'd be great if you just pushed it on the concrete that's there. But I doubt the venues will allow that. I don't think that'll be allowed at the venues. So if you just install the plastic sliders on them with the carpet, it might help alleviate it a little bit.
But even if you did, and then you've probably seen these in the gyms where they have like a little circle, it's plastic, and it's got almost like a carpet felt on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And you slide your hands on that. If you put that style of thing on the bottom of those sleds, and then you push them across concrete floors, across...
Right, it's not going to scratch it up, and I would hope they would do it. Even if they increase the weight of the sleds to like make it feel reasonable, that would be fine. I'm okay with that.
That was my solution from before.
But like, you could tell, so throughout the day, so like on day 2, the sleds were easier in the morning than they were at night. Because when in the evening, everybody's been in there, it's hot, it got humid, and the carpet just like swelled up or whatever. So it made it tougher. Back to like the women's race though. I mean, if you run that race again 10 times with everybody using different lanes each time, you're going to have different results, like all over.
I mean, listen, here's the good news for Lauren. As stated in my article, which you can now read on hybridfitnessmedia.com, it only makes, and we discussed this, I think, in the alternate commentary as well, it only kind of makes the legend of Lauren grow. Like,
Matt, I read that article.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I read it right before we jumped on.
Okay.
You're missing one of the years.
Can you send me a note later, please? I'm telling a great story right now. I'm trying to
1
go
year.
away for flowers. All the great things that Lauren's done, wins all the time, this many times versus Meg, this many world championships, this many opens, like all the stuff she's done. Races fucking pregnant 9 months. I wanted to get the actual fact. I put several months, but if you can give me the number of months, that'd be great. And now we'll all remember this race that she came all the way back from this horrible sled, and is such a lesson for anybody in any sport. It's never fucking over, right?
Yeah.
Because it would have been very easy at any time to just give 90%, you know, or 92%, or, well, I probably aren't going to win anyway. And when you stay in the race, you never know what happens, which is that you're in control of your own performance, and then other people make mistakes. They leave a station too soon. They run too many laps. Who knows? They later get DQ'd for fucking drug violations. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Another conversation. Always stay in the race and always race to the end, and you never know what's going to happen. So that's the silver lining of all of it. But yes, it fucking sucks. And I'm even more mad that people got to practice and use that as a strategy. That is bullshit.
So we'll talk about the race, because the sled thing you can beat up the whole time. Like, I don't know if you saw it on the live stream where she goes up to the sled pole finally. Like, she got like worked on the sled push too, but the sled pole. Oh, I didn't finish my story. I had done all the math, like the average of women, the top 10 women that finished their sled push times versus like how they pushed in Nice. And I also did it with their sled pole times. Most women were about within 20 seconds slower than their average time in Nice. So obviously a very slow sled. Of the 10 women, 8 of them, it was their slowest sled push time of the season. And then on the Lauren pushed a 3:20. Oh, just for reference, the reason Lauren on Team USA was the sled push was because she was the fastest sled push time this year, like in all the venues. So like that was a strength of hers. That's why that was one of her stations.
Lauren Runtala.
No, Lauren Runtala took over the stations that Lauren Weeks was gonna do.
Okay.
So Lauren was gonna do the sled push and the farmer carry, but she was sled push because like she was the strongest woman in that station all year. Yeah.
What station is she not the strongest in?
Wait, lunges? I don't know.
Well, you just make it
Wall
sound
ball?
like, oh, it's the one thing she's good at. She's strongest in every station. So what?
Yeah, well, I mean that. So like her sled push time versus her average sled push time was over 50 seconds different.
Well, can we talk about this humidity, because that's the issue that seems to be people talking about. You mentioned it to me offline. You were like, hey, people are dying. Kieran, what did it feel like in there? Was it just like they didn't fucking air condition enough, or there's never been an event in that room?
So like when we were watching and spectating on Friday night or even on Saturday, it felt okay. It felt cool. But for my own race, as soon as I started to warm up, it just felt unbearable. And it just felt really, really humid in the building. It was tough. It was really, really hot.
Did they try to solve it? Did they open more doors, or did they realize?
No, they did on day 2.
It was doors open definitely, but it didn't.
Day 3.
It didn't seem like there was air conditioning in the building. I don't know if that's true.
So when the least amount of people were in the building on day 3, they finally opened the doors?
So I saw the doors open for the first time on day 3. There were some like maybe not for the whole building swamp coolers at the very height of the building. So in the ceiling, they ain't reaching the floor at that point.
What a swamp cooler is?
It's an air conditioning unit. It's a special type of air conditioning unit.
Okay, what does it do?
It cools the air. I am not a mechanical engineer or an HVAC guy. I just know there's different types of swamp coolers. I can't tell you what the ratings on these ones
at
were.
At least 75% both of those things. Dave, explain the difference to people. When I say air conditioner, I know what one is like at home that comes out of a wall unit or out of my home air conditioning. What is this?
You've seen swamp coolers. They use
Just leave it as an industrial air conditioner. We'll move on.
Yeah.
They didn't have good air conditioning. And this goes back to even my thing from New York. They picked this venue for aesthetics. They picked this venue for location and not for the practicality and purpose of the race, which is par for the course. And this is
I had some theories why they picked this venue. I was curious, but and then last night I heard another theory as well. But I was thinking, why not have a place to have this awesome fitness competition the same year, the same month as the Olympics in the same country, right? Like, I think that was a big draw for it. But
that's your theory, or that
was one of my theories. And then I found out last night that one of Christian's favorite restaurants in the world is in Nice. And so I'm thinking he wanted to come.
Okay.
That seems like a reasonable reason to do it. I like it. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that was my thing when I heard about the heat from the venue and stuff. And it just is another one of these things about aesthetics being a top priority as opposed to functionality of the venue itself. And when you're dealing with however many thousands of people were in through there in the south of France in the summertime or spring, wherever time we're in this time of year, heat is a huge issue, and you need to be prepared for that. And it just seemed like an afterthought.
I'll just give a little thing. Like a couple months ago, when we knew where it was, I looked up the venue. I looked up like the square footage of the venue, assumed how many laps it was going to be. No, I just like saw pictures of the inside. Like I looked at it. I looked up the average temperature of Nice during this time of year, and was just like, hey, told some of our athletes like maybe we should do some heat training.
You did that ahead of time?
Yeah. You got to look like you got to be prepared for what you're going into.
You're like the fucking Belichick of Hyrox coaches.
So like you go, I don't know. We're looking at like the venues and everything, and you need to know what to expect, right? So yeah. Anyway. The venue did have I saw a lot of people with cramps. I saw people with like extra sweaty heat exhaustion. What's that?
Joffrey Voisin, like he collapsed on the wall balls.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty rough. There were, I don't know the numbers because I just completely anecdotal. I saw, obviously my athlete Lauren Griffith hurt her calf, and just some others in the pro race told me like they felt things in their legs too from it, and I think it was just because the sleds felt heavier due to the heat and humidity. Because of the heavier sleds, it was extra strain on the lower limbs.
Do we know if that's why Kent and Ansha didn't finish?
No, I don't know why Ansha didn't. I think she got a penalty and then didn't want to keep. I don't know what reason it was. I heard she got her penalty and then she stopped. And then Kent, I mean, I do not blame him at all for stopping. When I asked him what was going on, he just pointed to his heart. And I completely understand. Like I lost my dad like 3 years ago, and I could tell you what, after 4 months, I wouldn't have been prepared for a load like this, or prepared to take on the requirements mentally that this would require. So it's really rough, and I bet you he comes back next year once he reestablishes his motivation and his reasons. I think he'll come back really strong next year.
Hey, real quick, speaking of Kent and Irmer, this is what Emily is saying, that on their show, they said Chicago is rumored that next year's world champs Chicago. I mean, I think we already thought it would be a major again because they love Chicago. Chicago is the Jacksonville of Hyrox, basically. What do you think about that, Anthony? Did you hear any rumor this year? I
asked multiple people. I mean, people would probably tell you I was going around asking them just, hey, where's World Championships at next year? I didn't get a chance to ask Christian and kind of like nudge him. So I regret that. But one of the things when I talked to one of the head judges, he said, just look up Christian's restaurant reviews and figure out where his favorite restaurants in the world are. Additionally, I've heard multiple mentions of Singapore 2025, which was the rumor last year.
I feel like you keep saying that. That's an Anthony.
I heard it as well from others than Anthony.
From others, I didn't hear that. I heard it last year. Last year, people were saying Singapore 2025, and then now again this year.
We already know they're having an open quote unquote championship, so they're not going to have both.
But you can't really treat these rumors with too much, because I'll be perfectly honest. 1 year for OCRWC, they hadn't announced where it was going to be, and at the after party, I just started the rumor Germany, and it got a lot of traction.
So yeah, that's exactly. I don't know where these come from
based on nothing.
But
Dave,
the general sentiment.
You're like, I want to fuck with people. I'm just going to say
the general sentiment that I heard was not Europe. It was not going to be in Europe, and it wasn't going to be in the U.S.
Oh.
So the things that I heard, because I thought UK, like I thought, why wouldn't they get it? But they had it last year, I guess.
Dude, I would keep putting it to the UK until someone else proves there's a better spot.
But I also, there might be like the Middle East bidding for it. So if Dubai bids for it to have it, then so I heard something about either Middle East or Singapore seem to be the prevailing ones. But I did hear that talking to someone that the tonight at 11:30, which is when this live stream started, Christian was taking all the volunteers and the judges out to dinner at his favorite restaurant.
All right, they're gonna find out.
He had an announcement for them. So we're thinking maybe that's when he's going to tell them where it's at next year.
I just thought they were going to say, "Good, we'll get him liquored up and ask him."
Yeah,
that's what you were going to say. That because that could also happen. Yeah.
When
so
do they usually announce it?
What's that?
When do they usually announce the World Championships venue?
I think they're going to announce the majors first. I don't think they're going to announce World Championships. And what did they announce Nissan in like December?
I can't remember.
November? Yeah, it was like once the season had started.
I mean, they made the announcement about the majors, and none of them were set. And then they were set. Then they took away the last chance from like. So then that became like a thing. Like, okay, here's the majors. Here's the world champs. I say you go ahead and announce it. Make the excitement start now. And then every time you do another announcement, you can mention it. When you open the majors, you can mention it again. Dustin, we were talking about you earlier, by the way. Dustin,
yeah, I'm with you, Matt, and people in the comments. Like, there's nothing wrong with announcing it now. It would give you traction the whole way. You're not going to spoil anything. Like me, even or a week, whatever. But do it soon, and that way people will start planning already. People will plan their entire holiday around it. They'll do everything around it. And like Emily, Dustin, Jabari, Sean, or whatever, everybody, Middle East. Dude, I mean, if they're gonna give you the money, that's what Spartan did.
I'm pretty much the expert now because I've been there once. So if you guys have questions, just ask me. Unless you want to be an expert on keeping your luggage the entire time. That part.
I definitely think, like, just from what I heard, that the prevailing sentiment seemed to be Middle East or Singapore.
Stop saying Singapore. All right. Let's get back on track. We were talking a lot about the women's race. Is there anything else about the women's race other than, well, I'll start. Meg did the thing you're supposed to do, which is show up and have a fucking great race and watch everybody else kind of show up and try to keep up with you. And I think with all the craziness at the end, that might be getting lost a little. The wall balls thing, a fuck up that got fixed. Lauren's great comeback, but let's not take away that Meg had won the first two majors of the year. Then Lauren won the next two. And we knew it was going to come down to one of them. And Meg showed up and fucking rocked the house.
Yeah, she deserves all the credit. You can't take anything away from her. She ran awesome. She ran her race. She ran great. And I mean, she's a deserving champion. She really is. Were we denied the race we wanted? Possibly. But even if that race happened, that doesn't mean Meg wouldn't have won. And I think that she deserves all the accolades and probably more. Like she probably deserves more attention than what she's been getting because of the controversy, whatever you want to say. But yeah, she's a worthy champion, and congratulations, Meg. Way to go.
Is that all we're saying about the
No,
women's? I didn't know.
that was
Before we move on, I did want to say like, yeah, I think I already said, Meg ran her race. There's nothing like she could have done about it. Like she did the right thing. I think that Lauren, like, all that energy, like that, she was back, and it turned into, okay, well, how can I just get myself back on the podium? And I haven't watched the ending yet, but being live, it was very like, exciting.
It was
as well,
crazy exciting.
So it obviously it was hard to watch like the finish. I think we were just kind of denied the ability to watch that first place finish for two reasons. Lauren Griffith too, like her getting hurt really just kind of messed it up, because she was like, I know everybody thought I was a homer about it, like calling her up there, but she was feeling really good. She said coming into she was third going into the sled push that like, I felt like she told me this afterwards, like I thought I was running too slow and that like I needed to pick it up because it was feeling good. And right up until her calf thing. And I just think it would have been a really fun, awesome race. But I also want to shout out our other athlete, Kate Davey. She really showed up and did super awesome. She originally, like when we had started talking, had said she wanted to not come last. And then I said, okay, set a higher goal. And then she said, I want to come top 10. And I was like, I think you can do better than that. And so finally we settled on she was going to be top half, which to her was 7th or better. So she hit it. She got 6th place. Fantastic. She found herself in 2nd place at the rower. She has a picture that I think her husband snapped of like Meg looking at her and her looking at Meg like what are you doing here? I don't know. Is it supposed to be me? Like she laughs about it, but it was great. And she really put her heart out there and did really well.
You need to address her as world champion, Kate Davey.
Oh yeah, 2-time. She won doubles with Zara, and they won the relay.
Oh, there you go.
So she had a great weekend.
I want to point out, I mean, since we're going to point out some of the stuff for the women's, just one of the obvious ones to shout out. Vivian Tafudo was just fantastic. I mean, Viv is often overlooked and just, sometimes that one that is the afterthought, but she shook that 4th place demon off her back, got 3rd, and just ran a race. I think it's fantastic for Vivian. So in case anybody like the controversy going over it, so the finish line, it did go Viola, then Lauren, then Vivian. So Vivian at first crossed the finish line in 4th, and like she thought she was 4th, and then but Viola had a 3-second penalty going around, and like you could see it on the lap counter every single time. And so, sorry, I just saw the question. I'll address in a second from Todd. But she did see the lap counter that she had a 3-second penalty. So even though Viola crossed the line and they had the whole wall ball confusion of who got no reps and who didn't, what would have happened anyway is that Viola had a 3-second penalty. Viola and Lauren's time were exactly the same. So Viola would have dropped down there. Vivian was only 2 seconds behind. So the 3-second penalty put her behind Viola behind Vivian. So Vivian is still in 3rd. So even without the wall ball thing, like it still would have been that order. And then with the wall balls, because they like had messed up who was supposed to do the extra rep and who wasn't, who got the no reps, it turned into
just give them 5-second penalties each. So Viola and Vivian each got a 5-second penalty, plus Viola's 3-second penalty from leaving the ski erg too early.
Yeah.
So like she knew she had that ski erg penalty from the very first station.
So
the digital wall ball counters have really like turned the wall balls into like a proper finale or a spectacle.
Yes, I don't think they should have been used with these athletes for the first time. Like they should have used them at a previous major if they were going to use them here.
They did test them out, but the problem is they did like a soft test and then threw it right into the fire of the biggest event of the year. And so I agree with you, Kieran, like it added a lot of excitement, but I would have rather, if you were doing that, have the judges be the ones clicking the numbers, not the automatic stamp.
So they had them on there, like they had the screens, and everybody I'm sure saw Sandy's like screen malfunction, right? And return to 0. Well, at the same time in the briefing, the athletes were told, do not look at the screen. It does not have your count. Listen to your judge. So
don't look at the screen with the digital number directly.
Yeah, with the digital number right in front of you. But they were told that your judge has the final say. So, and it kind of impacted the men's race a little bit because the reason JK broke is because he wasn't looking at the screen. He would turn back to his judge and be, what number am I on? Like, and he couldn't get an answer. So that turned into like a little bit of confusion back and forth there. And I don't want this to be like all the things Hyrox did wrong. They did so many things great this weekend. Like, it was an amazing event. It was fantastic. I think the way they treated the athletes, all the spectacle, the pomp and circumstance, like everything that they did for everyone, it really sold this event. And I'm sure that when I watch the live streams and everything, the coverage is going to be fantastic. And just what they did on site for everyone, I'm sure, I really hope came across in the coverage.
Yeah, it did. As far as I know, Todd's question there, any insight as to why Vivian didn't get the call for the relay? As far as I know, Todd, I think Vivian had already left. Or her travel arrangements precluded it.
Yeah, so we were trying to get Lauren better to be able to race as much as possible, and we waited until the really last minute to do it. And I think Lauren Rantala was an amazing substitute person for her. She was the top U.S. woman from the Women's Open or from the Women's Pro race on Saturday. Like, she absolutely had the reason to go there. Chris Roglowski was also here, but she'd already ran 2 doubles races. So, I mean, you didn't know what we were going to expect on Sunday night. And if you're asking about like the other U.S. women in the Elite 15, Amy and Vivian had flights earlier on Sunday, so we didn't ask them because their flights kind of left before we knew if Lauren was going to be able to go or not. And obviously, Lauren Griffith had hurt her calf on Friday, so she wasn't going to be an option either. And Lauren Rantala was absolutely the best choice to take over.
Can I say this? And I had a little chat with Lauren Rantala too, and I told her, and I said, she was put in an unfathomable situation where it's like one of the best in the world is out, in you go, last minute notice, off you are, right? And it's almost I told her it's the equivalent of being like a backup goalie to Patrick Waugh. And all of a sudden, you're like, Stanley Cup final.
Did she understand that reference, by the way?
She actually did follow the backup goalie part for sure. And I said, Stanley Cup final, Patrick Waugh's down, he's out, in you go. Yeah, it's like, it's an unbelievable, and she did as well as anybody can do. She performed admirably. I was super impressed because the amount of mental pressure that must have been on her there would have been immense. She did fantastic. So Lauren, well done. Way to go. Anyone who gives you any
Lauren Rantala did absolutely amazing. Like, you could see it while she was running. Like, she was really, like, I was standing there watching. She was unbelievably running well. You know, she's in a hard spot. Her first station, she's trying to keep up with Sandy. Yeah. Like, don't get passed by Sandy and keep like nobody's gonna do that. So
And nobody could do that all weekend.
And we can talk more about the teams later. I want to stick with if we're done with the women's and then move on to the men's.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on to the men.
Todd, nobody thinks you were saying anything against Lauren R whatsoever. Didn't come across that way whatsoever.
All right. So let's talk about the men's race. When you were there, I want to know for the guys that were there what you thought of him going out so strong, because on the live feed, they had that vehicle and like pretty darn quickly he was like ahead of the picture, and it was like, okay, is this too hot? We knew he was going to go out too hot, but is this too hot? And he looked so strong and so good, and like I feel like everyone else looked labored even early on. So what did it look like on the outside or on the inside?
For the men's race, it was it looked like people were going to pressure Hunter, which was exactly what we expected, which is exactly what we wanted. If anybody doubted Sandy was going to be there pressuring him, then you're wrong. Like that's what Sandy does in every race.
Well, I knew Sandy and Ronkovic both were, but I'm saying Ronko like looked like early on just looked fucking strong and ahead of everybody else.
Well, Ronko started with his shirt on. Everybody else didn't.
And he wore a hat the entire time.
And he wore the hat the whole time. Took his shirt off I watched him take his shirt off without losing the hat. That was pretty impressive.
About 3 seconds there when he was trying to do that move, take the shirt off. And
I thought he was blind. I thought he was going to run into something.
Yeah.
But he had a great race. And now, like, I did talk to Hunter a little bit afterwards, and he said he thought it was losing weight had him not as strong, or he thought that he lost horsepower in his race because of it, which there's two things to that. Number one, he had that sled push lane, and I don't think it was solely because he was lighter. I think it's because of the lane he was in. He had to overwork to keep up and maintain his own position, which is the same thing that happened in the women's race. Just going back to that, like, those two are the most experienced racers in the whole field. They've ran the race for 5 years. They've experienced every type of sled there is in the push and pull. So for either of them to have that like abnormality, something's off. But I think what happened is that the difference was Hunter lost all of his horsepower after the push and the pull, and just couldn't find that fire to maintain it because of the excessive difficulty that the sleds presented. And he just couldn't recover the same way.
You know what? When I was watching, I swear to God, I would have accused Ronkovic and Sandy of collusion when they were doing like this 2-pronged attack on Hunter, where it was like one would push him as hard as they possibly could, and then they would switch, and the other one would, and it looked almost like a tag team attack.
Did I tell you guys like a month ago, 2 months ago, that the only way to beat Hunter is to have multiple people pushing him, and then the people behind him will clean up? Like
it worked. It was almost,
and this was all without Ryland, who we thought was the one that was going.
I thought Ryland would be the one to do that. I really did. It turned out Sandy could do it, and Ronkovic stayed with them, and then JK was in there too.
Is it unfair? I'm not going to ask Anthony. I'm going to ask Kieran and Dave this one. Would it be unfair to say that Lauren fought through it and brought herself all the way back, and Hunter kind of gave up?
Go for it, Kieran.
I
don't think he heard the question.
I don't think Hunter gave up. I don't think Hunter gave up.
I didn't ask you. You're not up. Dave's
okay,
up.
Well, I was there. No, I don't think Hunter gave up either. I think Hunter gave everything he had, and just on that day, he did not have what Sandy and Alex did, and I think it was one of those. He tried so hard to stay up with them, that was the reason why maybe he dropped even further down to fifth. I'm not taking anything away from like JK, who had an amazing race and raced one of the smartest races out there. But yeah, I think he gave what he had. And was it a weight thing or not? I don't know. I love the comment of I dropped too much weight and wasn't strong enough, because everybody's always like lighter's faster. And I like finally, someone saying, no, I needed more weight so I could be faster and stronger. That makes
I'm glad that narrative's didn't like, I feel bad for Hunter, but I'm glad that narrative didn't play out, because I didn't want this sport to turn into having that, like, oh, whoever can just get small, because it's not a small person sport. Like the larger runners are usually the ones more, which, by the way, I didn't know how big those top like 4 men are.
Oh, they're huge.
Until I stood next to them. I'm like, Jesus, man, you guys are all like 6'2", 6'3", like they're towering.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not a small person.
No,
and
I've noticed the difference with the men and the women. It's definitely not lost on me when I'm at a Hyrox and I'm taking pictures at the start line or just talking to a bunch of them afterwards. And I'm like, this is not like OCR. These are all big people, right? Because the women, for the most part, are also like my height, or at least a lot closer to my height, where OCR, you get all shapes and sizes.
We have pictures of Bethany on the start line, and she looks like a lost child.
Well, other than Bethany, these are some. When I'm next to most of the women, I'm like, you are taller than most of the women in OCR. Well, I think I haven't talked to Hunter. I don't know what his effort level was or wasn't. I think it could be said that maybe he gave up. His wall balls were incredibly slow, and I don't know that he's ever done them that slow.
I just don't think he had it at that point.
I think
like he got overworked to that point.
But I mean, I think he was already in fourth by the wall balls, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But that was, and I mean, you saw coming out of the lunges, when you saw Hunter come out of the lunges, he was at like a lope. When you saw JK come out of the lunges, he was sprinting. And you could tell that was the difference there.
Before we go too far, I want to say JK ran almost the exact race we had planned, and he was right there, and he had that opportunity. And I'd actually say his biggest like word of the weekend after that race was unsatisfied, because he saw the opportunity, and he went back and watched the race that he could have won. He was tied with Ronkovic in wall balls, but took his break. He has the ability to go unbroken, and I think he knows that now and will. But yeah, he's ready to come back and like actually set the world on fire next year and go for it. Go for that win.
Well, and Todd points out too, like Hunter broke on the farmer's carry, and that's not something we see.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it was he ran out of grip strength. I think he was just so gassed.
He also lost balance in the lunges as well, which was like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
but fatigue. I think he was overworked at that point.
Yeah.
Here's a question I kind of want to jump to that I put in the notes. Lauren put in a pretty busy season, and Hunter did not. And did that cost Hunter? Did he need to race at this level with some of those men more often?
I would think, yeah. I mean, what did he race? He did
Stockholm and Anaheim, and that's it.
Yeah, Stockholm
and Anaheim wasn't a competition.
Yeah.
Anaheim was the tune-up. He did a couple of doubles.
Yeah.
So he ran one major, qualified, and then went into kind of chill out mode, and not chill out mode. Obviously, he trained his ass
training
off.
very hard.
You can do a lot in training. I think the reps though. So I'll just put it like this: this is the first season Lauren's ran this much ever. She ran 7 races this year,
including all 4 majors. 8
if you include going to Houston too. The most we'd ever done in a season before this was 4.
So she did all 4 majors. She went to Doha to win some money. She ran the Go Rucks doubles right after she won the
well,
DC
I mean,
major.
I'm saying she went to 8 venues.
Yeah.
So she went to New York.
Why did you guys travel
Dubai.
to Houston just to do a goofy relay that she didn't even like try to podium or anything?
Just
I was with the CrossFitters.
Yes, it was with the Buttery Bros and with
No, I saw that, but I'm saying when I looked at that today, I thought, well, why did you guys even go? Because I think I would have thought she raced that day, but she didn't. She only did.
No, she didn't race.
So why did she go? Just for funsies?
To be there.
Okay,
athletes were there. That to be there.
It's fine, but so that's the question is maybe Lauren could have done 3 majors instead of 4, but should Hunter have gotten out there with the best multiple times and maybe might have seen what he needed.
I like what Emily's.
I actually think
I like that.
I think Hunter should have done DC just to feel the center sleds on the actual race. But that would probably be it.
I think he will approach next year very different. I feel like in previous years, that is kind of all he needed to do. I'm the best. You guys catch me if you want. I'm going to do my stuff. I'm going to go to Europe and do some stuff with Builder, and I'm going to do stuff with my sponsors, and I'll show up at Hyrox and win and see you later. And I think now he knows that's not the case anymore, and he's going to show up to all the fucking majors and do the work.
I think he's going to do the work, but I don't know that it's going to mean he's going to win the championship, because the other men in this division, and there'll be more coming this year, are just getting that much better. And they're it's not all of a sudden just Hunter's world and he can just, like you say, show up and win as long as he's in really good shape. I don't know that it's not like that. He beating Ronkovich, beating Sandy, beating JK, beating these guys is not easy anymore. They're dialed in.
I agree, but I think Hunter did a lot of different things this year to like experiment with his own training. I don't think he's going to do that again. I think he's going to go back to what works, and I think he's gonna come back very ferociously.
I think so too. I just don't know that it'll do it though, because those guys aren't going to be sleeping as well. They're going to be tuning up even more.
Well, I mean, you can't take away. He puts in the work. He does. He knows what he's doing. Like, he's not just gonna sit there and do nothing, and he's not going to rely on things that weren't or that he feels weren't working.
Yeah,
he's going to
anybody who believes he's up at the cabin chopping logs and that's what he's training is missing, because he is not doing that. That's a persona. He is calculated in his training. He is doing what he thinks is right.
You need to definitely like take a look at him because he's not just going to let it slide. I mean, you saw what happened after Leipzig. He came back and probably would have won by more if he hadn't missed the length of burpees in Vegas. And then look what he did in Manchester. Like, he cramped up and still won by minutes.
The difference
that was the conversation we actually had. We did our pre-show, and I said to Bracken, is it better for the sport if we have remaining champions, Hunter and Lauren, or is it better if there's sort of new blood? What's better for the next year's sort of storylines? And he said, well, if Hunter wins, he might just ride off into the sunset. But if he loses, he'll be super pissed, and we get a whole nother year full of Hunter, and we definitely need that in the sport. That was before the race started.
He already said he was doing another year, like before the World Championships. He said he had one more. So
but that was Bracken's sort of thinking, like, because I said the same thing. I said, no, he's not going to leave. He said, no, but he'll kind of start thinking about other stuff. But if he doesn't, he'll be super pissed because that's what happened last time. And so that's what I know we're going to see.
From a business perspective, this is where Hunter needs to be.
Yes. Business perspective, this is where he needs to be. And also, last time Hunter didn't win, he showed up out of shape and not ready. This time, like, he was prepared. He showed he was prepared, but he'd done his training differently. I don't think he's going to do that again. I think he's going to come in with, like, dialing his training back to what he knows.
Bulk pony.
Yeah.
So what was different?
He's going to be dangerous.
So what was different? When you say experiment, what are you aware of? Because you pay attention to this stuff. Like, as a coach, what are you aware of that he, quote unquote, like dabbled in or tried?
He was using new equipment. He was trying to lose as much like body weight. He was getting his body weight to what he considered the most ideal He was doing altitude training and other things like, and these are things he might have done before, but he was trying to like do it all at the same time. And I don't know if like it worked out for him, or if he feels like it did and he just needs more time on it. I don't know. But instead of coaching himself, he had gotten a coach.
Mhm.
When?
What did they say? They started working together right after he set his world record in Stockholm.
Oh, I thought you were saying he's going to get a coach now because he didn't have one before.
Yeah.
No, he got one for this year. And I think to me what that says too is that he was taking this very seriously. It might have put him in a direction that he regrets, but he worked for it and he was taking it very seriously. And like you said, Anthony, when it was Leipzig, he was hanging with his family before and admitted
drinking beer and
yeah, he wasn't ready. This one he was ready. He just maybe had his training go in a direction that maybe wasn't the most beneficial for him.
Well, I mean, also if you look at Leipzig was also the year that everybody was like, oh, the sleds were too light. That's why Hunter lost, because they were the differences in sleds, you know. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it was this year where the sleds too heavy, like, and so I actually think that definitely needs to be something that gets nailed down. I mean, I know I harp on it, but it's like that should be consistency. Expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I again, for most of us that came from OCR, where there was a top one and sometimes two in the men's and women's field over and over, and we kind of was like, all right, who's third through whatever, and even after fifth or sixth, it got pretty wonky. I think it's so awesome that the sport is already, the top is so fucking great, and that we are going to see like every major next year, it's going to be like completely up in the air depending on who shows up. So I love it that our competition has gotten very, very good, very, very fast. And we're still a brand new sport with people who are going to do their first one next year that we haven't seen yet, that come from triathlon, that come from swimming, that come from wherever.
Look at the growth of it. I think I read in an article about Christian. He said, so this year there was 270,000 people that did Hyrox.
Well, that's probably not true, but that's probably
completed.
That's probably how many registrations they have.
Okay, well,
I can tell you how many. I can tell you how many. It probably wasn't that much, but that's okay. It's a lot of people.
I think he said 270. Maybe it was 170, something like that. But he said it was 2025, 2026, they expect it to be 1 million.
I can tell you.
Better have a lot more events and a lot more days.
Well, yeah, they're gonna up the number of events. Like I think the number of events was going up to like 100 plus.
Well, I'm excited. In 2023, 2024, if you want to break it down that way, finishers is 160,919. So 161,000 in 20 different countries.
So how many people drop out or didn't finish a race, or like registered but didn't show up? What?
It's usually like 20%, isn't it? Like it
no, that's just 20. But this includes all people. So if you raced multiple races in a weekend, you get counted every time. But
right.
If you look
call it 10%. That's 175,000.
But here's what's important. Here's the important piece. Okay. Here's the important piece. 54 events, 20 countries, 161,000. The year before, 32 events, 10 countries. Okay, 47,000. The year before that, there was only, there was only 3 countries before that. Germany, UK, and USA in 21 and 22. So look how quick that like hockey stick growth is going. So yeah, a lot more people to come. And yeah, somebody earlier mentioned, we were talking about the cities. I keep hearing we're going to get a fucking dozen events. So if 3 or 4 are the fall, that means we're getting 8 in the spring, or 4 more in the spring, and then another 4. Yeah, 8 in the spring. Right?
Yes, a dozen events. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Well,
that's supposed to be what America's supposed to be getting.
I would really like
Canada
to see,
and Toronto. Count Toronto was one of those.
I would really like to see like a high elevation world championship. That would be great. So let's go like Denver or Mexico City. Let's see the hypoxia happen.
Let's not do that. What else do we want to say about the men's race before we move on to the relays? the
Alex
relay.
Bronkovich, again, incredibly deserving, probably the most consistent man in Hyrox. Been on the podium in every world championship he's been to, hasn't he?
Yep, 5 for 5.
Just again dialed in. And again, a great ambassador for the sport. Dude loves it. Dude lives it. He's fantastic. Like it was his time, and he a mentally strong racer who, even coming down to the wire, trailing, going to the wall balls, he just did not quit, no matter what the thing. So I thought he was great. And I guess, can we talk about the men's without like addressing Sandy and kind of sticking with it?
Oh yeah, like actually, like so I don't know about you guys, but when Sandy got that penalty at the sled pull, I thought he was done.
Okay.
I thought that's where he was going to drop out.
And I want to say something about the sled pull and the penalty, right?
Yeah.
And I've said this elsewhere, and you'll hear it lots because I'm going to go on and on about it. One, he did deserve the penalty. He stepped on the line twice, and the judge got it. But reading lips, if I was the judge and he said that to me, if he said what it looked like he said, I would have doubled that penalty.
Did you ask him, Anthony?
No, I didn't ask him what he said. I mean,
I asked him.
I didn't see him say it or hear him say it, and I haven't watched the live stream,
so I cannot confirm or deny.
Would you like to know? Would you like to know what his answer was when I asked him on here?
Sure. What did he say?
Fuck off.
So in that scenario, I would have doubled the penalty. If he said it again, I would have tripled it. If he said it again, I would have DQ'd him.
So I don't know what the rule is for that, but it's not good.
Abuse of an official.
I was giving the benefit of the doubt. I was saying, Dave, you can't read lips. You don't know that's what he said. And
Apparently
I said, what did he say? And he said, fuck off.
Apparently I can. So yeah, that's abuse of an official. And in any sport, if you do that, they kick you out.
So in the briefing beforehand, they had things that used to just be penalties were now DQs. So I'm surprised they didn't do that. Like,
what did the briefing used to be a penalty that's a DQ?
If you missed a lap, it was now a DQ.
Forever?
If you missed,
just in the World Championship.
I don't know. That was in the briefing for the athletes. So like, if you missed a lap, it was now a DQ. They weren't going to assess a time penalty. It was probably just for the elites. If you missed a length of burpees or a length of sled or a length of lunges, it was a DQ, not a penalty.
That's a really bad idea, especially if the judge gets it wrong and sends you off too early. That's really bad.
Right. Yeah. So the other part about the penalty too was that he was allowed to do his penalty at the end, which I was told was part of the pre-race as well, that they would move to the end. And I wanted to know if that's just for like Matt asked, is that just for Worlds or is that something going forward? Because going forward for Worlds, it works fine. But going forward in mass populous events, I don't think it works.
I don't think it works in mass populous events. But it eliminates like what happened to Alondra last year, at least.
Yeah, it does. And that penalty.
Why can't you do it at the end? Why can't you do it at the end of the mass? I thought it was a great penalty. Why can't it work?
Because it turns into a 10-meter penalty instead of a 5-meter.
No, Matt's asking why you can't do what Sandy did in a mass populous one. Because generally in the mass populous ones, there's only one or two judges at the sled push, which means if they have to administer more than one penalty, they have to remember everybody who got the penalty and then go back and ensure that they did it at the end of their sled push or at the end of their sled pull. You can't do that. There's just not enough judging. It just won't work. You have to administer that penalty right away or it can get overlooked.
I feel like there's always been adequate judges at sled push. I'm trying to think when there wasn't enough. Usually there isn't enough at lunges.
Dude, in New York, I couldn't find a judge when I was in the sled pull. I literally looked around because I thought I stepped on the line and I couldn't find anybody.
Okay.
No.
But yeah, the idea that you only do it one more time and then you leave and the judge fixes it rather than you go and pull and then you go and pull and it's this massive clusterfuck.
My suggestion for that penalty is if you step over the line, you do a shuttle run to the end and back, and that's it.
Okay, so real quick, somebody did ask about drug test results. I asked Hyrox, when are the results going to come? Will you announce them if everybody's positive or if everybody's negative or whatever? Does WADA publish them on their website? Because that's what Bracken said, that even if Hyrox doesn't tell us, WADA does. So I asked those questions. I have yet to get a response.
Well, the one thing I'm really glad to hear and to say is that they did do them.
Correct.
And that's awesome and good for them because, I mean, it wasn't always a for sure thing. With Bracken saying that WADA publishes them, I don't know if WADA does it if they're not the party that administers it.
But they said he said Yeah, it matters which company
Yeah.
it matters which company does it. So
Yes.
all those questions are unclear. But
But
yes,
they did do the test, so that's great.
Yes. And even though I was saying on our watch along, they weren't greeted immediately at the finish line. There was somebody with them relatively quickly, but it wasn't right away, which is what I was hoping.
I was told it was pretty close. It was pretty fast.
It was
That's
pretty
what I was
quick.
told by one of the athletes, that they were right there.
I mean, okay. I mean, it was
what I was
I
told.
mean,
by
it
one
was.
of the
I mean,
I'm
it was
watching.
right.
I'm watching, and I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing gongs. I'm seeing water bottles being handed. I'm seeing celebrations. So that's not the same as like, okay, they're with you now and they're staying with you until you're done. But it was pretty
No,
quickly after that.
That's because you might not have noticed they were Hyrox employees in Hyrox gear. They went up to him right away and handed him a sheet of paper and were like, "Do not lose this. Don't let anybody take it. I have to watch you. Don't lose my."
I only saw the
sight
sheet
me."
of paper kind of later. Listen, they did great. They did better than we've ever seen. It just wasn't immediate. I just thought it was like in a marathon, it literally is like they greet you and they stand there with you. Like
They were
much.
there just right off the edge of the stage. It was
All right.
quick, Matt. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, good. Glad to hear it. I take it all back then. I'm really glad to hear it. And if you listen to my interview with Vivian, you can hear all about her experience with it, including some potential TMI. But it's really funny.
And another thing with Sandy too is he had another chance to crack when his display screen went bonkers, and he just stuck with it.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm glad he stuck with it too. I've been trying to get him on the show since Friday to ask him the question directly and answer it for all the people. And we keep missing each other. He says maybe tomorrow, but I said, okay, well, you at least tell me what you said to that judge. And he said, I said, fuck off. So not a great look for Sandy.
Which is too bad because the rest of the weekend was a great look for Sandy.
Yeah. He did amazingly well.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it's not just that like it's a bad thing for him. It's like if people saw that and they think, cool, like you can't kick me out if I say something shitty to a judge. I saw it on the World Championship feed. So bad precedent all around.
Don't do it in Toronto.
Don't do it in Toronto if Dave's your fucking judge. He'll crush you. Todd Sholos, did Sandy's doubles with Hunter push his confidence to that performance? What do you think, Anthony?
Maybe he got comfortable with Hunter, seeing that he could run the same pace and push that. But I think Sandy, I think mentally one of the biggest things. I don't know if anybody else read his post. He was in a job that in the oil and gas industry, and that's like those are really tough jobs to do as engineers, and he ended up leaving that job, and I think that took a lot of mental pressure off of him as well, and he focused on this, and I think that helped him.
I agree.
If you want to read that post later, you can. This is the one with him kind of looking stoic here and then looking whatever this is here. But yeah, you can go check out that post. This was liked by Obstacle Fitness X and 5,000 others. Holy shit. That's a lot of likes. But Dave, look, my Instagram wants you to know that you're the first one.
I'm right on the board there. There we are.
Look at you. Put you right on the board there.
So, Clarion, can you actually hear?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm still here.
What did that men? Because you said you were there watching as a fan. What did that men's finish look like as a fan watching it in person?
We were watching on the big screen in the arena, but yeah, it looked pretty hectic. I think another thing to point out as well, I think Ronkovic had like 11 no reps on his wall balls, which was like, and what did he come in like 20, 30 seconds down? I think he was like 10 reps.
Yeah.
Sandy had started 10 reps before Ronkovic had even started, so that was quite impressive to watch.
Did it come across how close JK got? Because JK got at like 40 to 60 wall balls, somewhere in there. Him and Ronkovic are tied, and they're chasing down Sandy, only about 5 reps back.
Yeah. I didn't really get that sense when I was there, but watching it back, I could see that. Then.
Kieran,
I was keyed in on JK, so that's probably like I was watching him hunt them down and almost have it. I was so proud of him, like just his effort in that race.
Kieran,
and his ability.
Kieran, you were saying, so you chose to be by the sleds, and then it was impossible to move. Like you would have
No,
never
you
been
couldn't
able to
move.
get to the wall balls
Yes.
after that.
So usually at sort of a lot of the venues they have sort of the Thunderdome built around the wall ball area, but just for the layout or setup, that wasn't possible. So we had to stay seated and watch it sort of on the big screen.
They didn't
because
make
it
the
was just
wall balls the Thunderdome. They didn't make that where you could sit.
No, the Thunderdome was sort of across from the grandstand. So basically, either side of the arena, there was 2 stands. Basically, that's where. Yeah. So I presume that was just down to sort of logistics in terms of layout for the venue.
I would really like if they, and I know this is completely biased, if they had a little inner track and all the athletes could designate a coach to be in that inner track, that like just inside the run track, so that we could run around and talk to our athletes and stuff, because you cannot get around the spectator area. It's impossible. Like, and with the running behind the bleachers and the running around the backside of the Thunderdome on the other side, like you couldn't see the runs. Like you'd only catch them when they went by one time. So it would be super cool if like any athletes could designate a coach. Those coaches got a special band or something, and that's the area they could be in, because you cannot navigate through spectators to watch any of the stations, or you can't watch the runs. You're kind of stuck to one area.
I would, you talk about a coach's lane. I just wanted a competitor's lane coming out of the wall ball, so they're not tripping over judges and camera people and whatnot, so that they have their own specific lane where people stay out of the way, where they can run towards the finish.
I think they should clear out the center of the rig and tell all the athletes you can't run outside. You have to run through the rig.
That would work. I'm fine with that.
But then you have athletes that might cut inside and cut off another one. I don't know.
Yeah, but if they have as long as they all have a fair designated lane where they go in this way, go in that way, whatever. If the other athletes get in the way, that's one thing. But if camera people and coaches or judges are in the way, that's another. So I just want them to have a free shot towards where they can, get their best finish.
Yeah, I think we were scared on watching the live feed. We were like, dude, those judges are going to be in the way. Like this could be really bad.
So one of the head judges, I don't know, it wasn't Rick. It wasn't like the head judge, but one of them I talked to. He's done CrossFit regionals and stuff, and he's like, Hyrox. I think he said he might have done the games or the semifinals too, but he's like, Hyrox really has started stepping it up in recent years, and I think next year they'll get more to the point of the way CrossFit is, where they're anal about the position of the judges.
I hope so.
Because at CrossFit regionals, when I went there, they tell you as a judge, you must stand here. You must be here. This is where you watch from. This is where you count from. This is how you count. And
well,
so
clearly
I think
they told them to all be
way.
kneel down right next, because they all were kneeled in the same exact place. It just happens to be in the way when they finish. Hang on, we have a quick break to watch the Thunderdome. Oh God damn it!
People listening on the podcast, we are not watching the Thunderdome yet.
Yeah, and we are watching Tina Turner's Thunderdome.
Oh, we're not watching Hyrox Thunderdome.
No, well, you knew that was coming. Come on,
this is good stuff. If you have not seen Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, not the new Mad Max, not Furiosa, not the one before it, but this one.
Matt's channel's going to get canceled for copyright.
2-man enter, 1-man leave.
Yeah.
Famous quote.
Listen on. This is the truth of it.
Similarities. The Hyrox is uncanny.
And killing gets to warring. That was damn near the death of us all. Look at us now. Busted up and everyone talking about hard rain. But we've learned by the dust of them all, Bartertown's learned.
Well, Corey Edwards, you've nailed him, Matt. He is dialed in with you.
And it finishes here.
All right. We're above 30 people watching.
Well, that's because Matt's now playing the Thunderdome.
Yeah. It's decreasing.
Yep. Oh, there it goes.
Yep. Losing viewers, Matt.
You're stepping on the best line.
Yeah.
All right, that's good enough. I just wanted to hear him see 2-man enter, 1-man leave. Come on, it's classic stuff. Thanks, Corey. You're the best. You're the best too, Corey. I might get demonetized later. All right, where were we? We're going to talk about the elite race. Sorry, the elite invitational, the team race.
Oh, the relay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, just one more thing about the individuals, and I think we said this when you were away, Matt. The automatic counters, no good. They're not ready. Get rid of them.
Well, I mean, not if there's not a clear line to the athletes that you must clear with your person, and the way to do that is to make sure after you've thrown your 100th ball to look at them, which the men all then did. But
even if you look at it, it's going to go 100 and then go back down to 99.
So yeah, one of the things is that if the athlete threw the ball too high, right, and the judge no-repped them, but the counter would still count it because it passes the sensor. Honestly, my thing is, if you want them to hit a smaller target, make the whole target smaller. Just make it a smaller target. If you want them to hit a 3-inch by 3-inch section, that's the target. The ball has to touch it. Like, stop with the must be in this little X that's on a big target, because otherwise, like, I'm just gonna go hit the target.
The whole tiny target thing's a mistake from the beginning. It should have just been like it was, a simple 9-foot line, 10-foot line. There you go. And you want your sensors then, it's nice and easy. You put your sensor right so that it hits. Boom, you put your sensor hits. Would be really easy. But because they're going to go with this finicky little target, and I'll tell you right now, I saw Hiller posting like, what the hell? Why are these no reps? What's going on here? What's with this counter? He was, because it's stupid to be hitting this tiny little pea-sized target when it's a good rep. And mind you, the best part about that post actually was JK commenting on it and saying, "You don't know, Hiller, you weren't there," and Hiller responding, "Well, neither were you."
Well,
JK's probably like,
well, Hiller doesn't.
The shit's jumped in. I think
Hiller makes a living on commenting on what CrossFit does right and wrong. He doesn't. You don't, and that's never the good answer, by the way. Because people said that to me before. You weren't there. It's like, I'm allowed to have an opinion even though I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So wait. Hiller said that back to JK when JK was.
He's fucking trolling. He doesn't care.
Hiller had no idea JK was there.
He doesn't know who the fuck JK is. He's just writing it.
But it was actually the shiz that commented back like, JK, didn't you come third?
But again, I haven't seen that yet, and I haven't
seen that. Somebody tagged me in that post. I want to.
Anytime they're talking about us, I like to see it. But again, if the rule is you can't leave until the judge tells you, right? But by the way, that includes your final rep. Don't leave just because it says 100. Again, the men all knew to do that, and you saw them do that, but the women didn't, so they took off. But yeah, it's what you're saying, Anthony, is they have to change the tech. So is that something that's easy or hard? I don't know, because if the tech goes off when you hit the board,
I think if you're gonna have a sensor that's yay big, make the target yay big. Like, that's it. Here's your target. Instead of having a big, it's cheaper, right? Less metal to make it. So boom, there's your target. That you have to touch this point.
No, I'm guessing you have to change a setting, because it's like, hey, how exact you need it to be? Not at all. Just hit this thing anywhere.
Think so, because if you look, there's like 4 dots in the center of the target, and that would be the 4 dots you have.
Yeah, there's a little X. No, what I'm saying is, like, people were getting no reps because the target right now is this big, and they're hitting up here or this corner of it. They're still hitting the face of the target, just not exactly where the sensor is. So I'm saying take the metal down, make it this big, and then put your sensor in. But that way, if it touches the target, it counts.
But they were getting. You're saying, okay? I thought you were saying it would hit it. It would say rep, but they would tag me too, Todd. Fine, save me some time, even though I was going to go look later. You're saying that I thought they dropped the number because the judge didn't think it hit it in the right place. The target's too big right now, is what you're saying.
No. So, yeah, there's a target. It's like you see it. It looks like it's a piece of metal that's like 1 foot by 1 foot.
I was there. I did an amazing video explaining how it works.
Okay, so the target's 1 foot by 1 foot, but the sensor is only in the very center of that target. Okay, what they need to do is, instead of having this big metal target, shrink the metal target down to that 3-inch by 3-inch or whatever zone you want it to be in. Okay, you can still have the sensor there, you put the bottom of the target at 9 feet or at 10 feet. So that if they touch the target with the ball, it's a good rep. So the judge doesn't have to be looking at the ball. So like where it hits on the target.
Okay. I don't think we're understanding each other. Why do they drop it from 100 to 99?
Because they hit the big metal target too high, so it hits it, but when it passes the counter, it still counts. So it went up, but the judge no-repped it down to 99.
But
So
there's time that those targets, and you could see it, they automatically, every time a no-rep happened, it even if it didn't hit the target properly, there was times where it flashed up and flashed back down, and it was not the judges changing it.
Right. Well, the judge would no-rep. They had a pad, and they would boom.
I know,
Okay, so if they called no-rep, they would.
You watch the timing on it, and you watch the judge's hands. And I'll particularly point out, I believe it was on Viola's last one. Unless that guy is Quick Draw McGraw from the Wild Wild West, there is no way he was fast enough to make that happen.
Because Viola's goes 199.
Yeah.
So he
his hands are nowhere near the tablet. His one hand's in the air and his other hand's holding it off the side. No way.
So maybe the sensor no-repter or something because she didn't hit it.
Doesn't no-rep it.
So that's what I said. It doesn't matter how big the target is. You can make the target the size of this room. You can change the setting to be only go off when it's hit in the middle and not hit anywhere else. That's what I'm saying. Don't make the target smaller. Make the sensor smaller.
No, make the target smaller and get rid of the sensor.
There you go.
Okay, fine.
I don't
if that's the intention, like we don't know what is the intention of the wall ball for them, because in CrossFit, if you just hit a 9-foot line somewhere above it, doesn't matter if you throw it to 12 feet, it's above the line, then it's a good rep.
I say keep it for, we talked about this in the live feed, or maybe with Vivian, keep it for the open waivers. Like just then you don't need a judge there. Just like it goes off, it doesn't go off. But for the people who
judge,
no, you don't. Not for the open waivers. Who gives a fuck? For the people who race that matter.
Well, then
everybody, everybody cares.
I care.
Everybody cares, Matt. They have their own podium.
Yeah. If I'm racing open wave or I'm racing later on, I want to know how I did from 1 to 1. I want to know how I did against other people. Like every wave of Hyrox is a competition. They keep scores.
You can't say they don't matter.
Let me rephrase that for the top. We had this theory. You
can't just not judge people, because then you don't like you cannot have just certain people not judge because they don't like. Oh, I don't care about my time. Okay, maybe somebody below you does.
So if someone takes 4 hours through a Spartan race, you think they should do every single penalty, or do you think it matters?
If they're in a competitive wave, yes.
No. If they're not, no. That's what I'm saying.
If they're in the open wave, I don't care. But if they're in a competitive wave, yes. You went in a competitive wave.
So every wave at Hyrox is a competitive wave.
So if you rate, so listen, this is the theory we came up with in the what podcast was this? This is the theory we came up with the podcast. If you the way to differentiate the amount of judges in the wall balls and making sure that enough attention is paid. If you've got 4,000 people, you're never going to get 4,000 people with 4,000 perfect judges. Like we've understood that's never going to happen, right? So if when you come into the last station, right, and you are out of contention for the podium or a qualifying spot, which could be a time between, let's say, I said an hour 45, they said an hour and a half. But if you come in at an hour 45, it's like you said, Dave, if you're there, like to judge somebody because they want to do well, you're going to judge every rep. If you want people to come back who take 2.5 hours, you don't want to no rep them to death. So if we have them come in, when you come into the wall balls at I'll say 145 or higher, you go to the right side and they're going to be like, we want you to finish. We'll encourage you to do your best. Bucket or no bucket, whatever.
Give up your band.
Matt, they don't no rep the person that's last on the floor.
You're the whole one who said that. You're the one who said that last week. You don't want to no rep people to death. You just want them to like get done with it. You don't want them to fucking have depth on every lunge, have depth on every fucking burpee. You're gonna like the 300-pound guy. You're gonna let him finish the race. You're not gonna fucking keep them there for 6 hours?
I'm of the opinion that is totally cool if they give up their timing chip.
Okay, but we're not going to give up timing chips, just like we don't give away an open waivers timing chip in Spartan. They still got to
open wave is not a competitive wave in Spartan. In Hyrox, if you want a thing like that, then you need to make a non-competitive wave for Hyrox.
But they're not going to do that because they already have the lower weights, and they're not going to go to a third level. So another way to do that would be by time. And clearly, once you've gotten to the wall balls at a certain time, then you don't need to assign as many judges because there's no way those people are going to qualify for anything anyway. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I disagree. I know what you're saying. I just don't agree.
But the other solution is everybody gets judged the same, which is never going to happen.
That is my solution. That is what I want.
Here's I got a burning question. It's been curious to me. Karen, behind you, what does your t-shirt say? Pulp friction?
Pulp friction. That's my
what
gym.
Okay.
So if you want to move 5,000 people through a space and they're not fighting for spots, you can give 10 lanes to those people and they can throw wall balls and their depth will be what it'll be and they'll do the best they can. And you have a head judge walking back and forth to try to encourage them, but you're not going to get them. But it's a way to save time because you don't have as many judges. Whereas the people who are fighting for qualification spots and the like should have a really good judge and no board at all. It needs to be hand counted because you want to make sure the depth is right and the height is right.
In my mind, if you want to be not judged properly, give up your timing chip and then you do what you want, run your race.
Again, but you can't do that. They're not going to not let you time your fucking race. Again, a Spartan open waiver could cheat his ass off and finish in 36 minutes. It doesn't matter.
But like I said, it's a non-competitive wave. And
right. And so you can't sign up for a non-competitive wave. So their only option is to sign up for open weights. That's their only option.
Non-competitive wave is give up your timing chip. Then it's non-competitive.
Okay. Well, now you're being ridiculous.
No, I'm not. It's right there. Everybody gets judged fairly. It's fair. It's across the board. That's what it's supposed to be.
But it's not. They're not going to give the same amount of volunteers for the elite wave as they do the rest of the people. And you're not going to no-rep them to death, as Anthony said. Or they're never going to come back.
We will agree to disagree.
Okay. Can we talk about the fucking invitational yet? Can we get there?
Yeah, let's get there.
All right.
Okay.
What do you guys want to talk about? I don't know. So
I said the invitation would steal the show, and I think it did. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a riot.
What's that?
I said the invitation, the relay would steal the show, and I think it did. It was amazing to watch. It was a riot.
I really want to know, because I'm going to go back and watch. I didn't watch any of the videos or commentary from this one. What was the perception outside? So whenever you guys found out that Lauren pulled out, was it, is US going to win still? Dave, I was curious about yours because I heard you on OFX that there was that one juggernaut team that was the US. And then, so did it become now is it still going to be the US or is it going to be a different team?
So considering the performances that both Kent and Hunter had and losing Lauren, it did all of a sudden look like, okay, there's a kink in the armor here. Maybe there's a chance for someone else. So yeah, it did take away from the overwhelmingness of what would have seemed as a U.S. favorite. Because we've gone on since they announced this of the embarrassment of riches that the U.S. had, right? So then when this went down, it was all of a sudden, I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe they are possibly beatable because of what had happened throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I certainly thought this makes it a fair race across the board, at least for the podium.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. So could you guys tell who was in the lead? Being there, it was hard to tell who was in the lead until really the rower. At least we could, because the men and women who would switch, and we knew how many men had gone.
The live feed was really good. It was always clear. They actually had a really cool F1 style on the far left.
It was very good.
Which always showed who was in the lead. And then for the rower and the erg, it actually showed meters. And it didn't change every time the lead changed because that would have been too crazy. But whoever came in first would be at the top. So, and then you could kind of tell who was in the lead. So,
but what I mean by that is did it show this team is in second place, but they've already had 3 of their men go versus this team that's had 3 of them?
I was talking about it with Ian, or it might have been harder for me to keep track in my head, but no, we were like, oh, they just sent all their men out. So now they've only got their women left. So it was easy for us to do it, watching it and commentating on it.
Yeah.
So
they did it as best they could with the commentary too, where they, you know, would say, oh, so and so, like Ronkovic did two moves, 2 stations very early on and stuff like that. So you had to kind of take, you could tell who the lead was, but you had to kind of take how far of a lead it was with a little bit of bias, because it could change very drastically on the next station, which made it exciting because it's like, oh, it's a 45-second lead. They're home and cooled. Well, no, they're not. Things are going to get very tight very soon. So that, I thought that made it extra exciting that way.
Did they show the mistake Team Ireland made?
I don't think so.
I don't
know
know.
what you're
I don't
talking
think so.
So in the very first run, Hunter was just relaxed coming into the first station, and I think he would have been fine just being like 5th ski, but Team Ireland kind of rubbed him with an elbow.
Oh, I saw
you saw it.
I saw it.
It set Hunter off, and he elbowed him back and then sprinted to get to the 3rd rower,
We
or the 3rd steer.
debated where the first shot came from, because Riley says it was the other guy. I thought the other guy went to pass him, and then Hunter gave him the little shot there.
So no, it was coming into the in arch. Ireland kind of bumps into Hunter.
Yeah.
And then Hunter, like, you could tell he was like, what the boom.
Yeah, we saw that part.
He goes back, like he retaliated, and then he sprinted off. And it was a mistake, because I don't think I think that lit Hunter on fire.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think US would have been as close to the UK without that.
What should be a bigger penalty, Dave? Telling a judge to fuck off, or elbowing the fuck out of one of your competitors? What should be a bigger penalty, Dave?
I don't know, but I'm glad nobody had a bucket. I think, honestly, telling the judge to fuck off, it should be a bigger penalty. And now those guys, if they're doing their rub and racing, and Hunter's known to do that, and if that guy bumped Hunter, he knew what he was doing, you know. So take it into court. I don't think either one would have required a DQ. And when Hunter elbowed him, it's not like he threw an elbow to his chin or anything like that. He gave him a push off little thing, right? Like,
so the guy took the inside lane as they were going in. He took the inside lane, and I mean, he bumped Hunter.
Yeah,
he bumped him and kind of elbow shoved Hunter, and so you knew it was coming back.
Yeah,
and then Hunter really, like, it was that on the live feed. Was the second part was Hunter hitting?
Second part.
Okay, well,
it was from a distance, so you couldn't see as well that the initial one. That's why we were debating. You couldn't see as well the initial one that you're saying the Irish guy did, but you could very, very much see Hunter's retaliation.
Yeah, so Hunter retaliated on it, and I think that was a mistake by Ireland to do that, because I don't think he would have been. I don't think he would have been as into it without that.
You think he woke the bear?
Yeah. You poked the bear.
Well, unfortunately for America, every country on the podium and that finished was really celebrating, except for America. America looked very unhappy, and it was kind of a bummer to watch, because, like, I get it, they're disappointed, but everyone else was like, it was like a love fest, and America was like,
you know what though? Part of that too is in this, and I talked about this before, is in sports, you win first, you lose, you come second, you win third. Right, and then everybody else is crossing the line.
But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there are people who have finished second.
Like, if you watch a gold medal match, right? The team that wins a gold medal is happy. The team that wins a silver medal, not very happy. Team that wins a bronze, they're ecstatic.
Unless they have a true second match afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, listen, there are
I'm trying
people
to stand up for America here. I'm trying to be nice.
Well, I'm trying to state what I witnessed, which was
nobody in second place ever looks happy.
Not true at all. Not true at all.
If you watch Olympic podiums, second places are usually the ones with frowns, because, well, at least in the wrestling, they're the ones that had just lost.
Okay, so wrestling is 1-to-1. Hockey is 1-to-1. In a sport where 10 people are going for the finish line, sometimes you're expected to win and you don't win, and it's kind of a disappointment. Sometimes you are expected to be fifth and you make the podium, and it's awesome. All I'm telling you is the first place team was hugging each other and loving each other. The third place team was hugging each other and loving each other. Pretty much every other team was like, wasn't that a good time? And America was like, we fucking blew it. Which I get it. Like they did. They were supposed to win and they didn't, but it was just disappointing that they weren't having a good time when everyone else was having a good time.
No, they had an amazing race. Like I actually think it's
I didn't say
I think it's a lot more credit to England. Just like you know how much pressure Zara was probably under like that finish.
Anthony, you were allowed to have your
held
feelings.
up.
Anthony, you were allowed to have your feelings. Okay, that is very evident. Okay, you have feelings about JK. You have feelings about all the people you like. That's all okay. I'm telling you, it was incredibly disappointing to watch America be that way, and that's how I feel. It's not no, they weren't, or yes, they were. It's a fucking.
I'm not saying they weren't. I'm just saying like I think Matt is a little bit colored because weren't you talking to Ian K during it? So he was probably talking a lot of smack to you.
He was the last person to talk. If it was Dave, it would have been a lot of smack. Ian is the last person to talk smack. Ian is like,
he's like, England finally 1-0 against the US.
I would love if he did that, but he didn't. I was just listen, man. Dude.
He's been waiting. He's been waiting for that victory since the Revolutionary War.
Listen, I want to talk to all those guys. I really do. But I think this is my summation. And that's what I get to do here on this show. I get to surmise and make guesses. And then I can also reach out to the athletes, which I will do. My guess is, Hunter and Kent were sitting there waiting for the others to finish, thinking about their overall disappointing weekend. And it just wasn't a good time. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'll talk to them and ask them. But that's kind of where I thought it went. And, dude, all the credit to the other teams. And they still worked their ass off, and Rantala worked her ass off. It was just like, it was obvious to me watching it. We don't have to keep talking about it.
So I'm going to say one thing and pull up what the shiz says. And I'm not sure why this happened, but I do agree that was not a good look.
So what happened? Somebody told me that earlier. Hunter did not show up.
Hunter didn't show for the team podium.
And the podium was like immediately after the race. It wasn't like 6 hours later, right?
Well,
it was
I don't know. I don't know if he got skirted off or something. I don't know if something specifically happened. But
do we know anything about this? Anybody else watching?
He I think he left the venue, but we were just standing directly above the podiums, and just as they had finished the presentations and everyone was getting off the podiums, Hunter came back into the building. So he did come back, but late.
Okay, so maybe he had to go to the bathroom. We'll give him an excuse. We'll give him a mulligan on that one. Then maybe he had to take a dump.
Meg's daughter filled in well for him. She did a good job.
Okay, because I didn't hear that either until just now. But I look at the shiz trying to spread some bad news. Oh, the shiz, you got to send some stickers. Some cards to Kieran here. His address is 22 Irish Pound Lane down by the pub, or something.
Nice.
Is that accurate? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty. It sounded like a cross between Ian K and some Irish person.
Did you listen to the Ian K podcast?
I do, yeah.
Oh, listen, you think I was joking? Hang on, don't say it out loud. I'm going to pull up this address. Don't say anything. I just found it. Don't say anything, okay? This is awesome. Hang on. This is really good. This is the actual name of the address of the Bee Park Resource Center in Manorhamilton, Leitrim, Ireland. Is that right? Did I say it right?
Leitrim, yeah, in Ireland. Yeah, very good, Matt.
What's the Bee Park Resource Center?
It's like a community center in the local town.
Okay, and what's Manorhamilton?
That would be the local town.
How do you say it properly?
Manorhamilton.
Oh, just like it looks.
Yeah. Very good.
Anthony, you gotta hit mute on your camera. You've been hacking in. Did you get a cold? Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. I just got something in my throat. I swallowed a bug.
Are you in the lobby of your hotel?
Yeah, ish. I'm at the outside like the convention halls or something. Not the convention halls, the business centers.
All right. Well, listen, we are 2 hours in. I don't know if there's anything else that we need to cover or that can wait until next week.
Did they say if the relay will be back in a similar format next year for sure? Because I really hope
They asked everyone how excited they were about it, and do you want to see it again?
hell yeah.
Yeah, I
Go
don't think you do
comment
that.
and like their post about it if you want to see it again.
Smash that like button. I'm sure it's going to happen. I think
I
they
gotta
should open
say,
it up.
So just real fast, Lauren was really looking forward to the Team USA thing. It was not like, I don't know, she was pretty disappointed she didn't get to race in it. So I hope they have it again next year, and I hope she gets to be on it again.
Well, I think Meg will be the captain as world champ, and so ask Meg to pick her. All right, so are we good? Can we wrap it up? And we'll save. I think there's more things we want to talk about from the world champs. Next year speculation, the way too early 2025 predictions.
Oh, I don't have my. Yeah, we can talk about those, or we can. I don't have my list in front of me right now. I think we already talked about the 2025. Oh, we didn't do the way too early stuff or the prediction.
I think 2 hours is about the extent of this show. We usually kind of like start to run out of steam. I definitely run out of steam. Thanks for staying up late, Kieran.
Yeah, it's now Tuesday here, so.
Yeah, no problem, Matt. It's 1:30 in the morning.
You were next. I was also going to thank you, Anthony, and tell people that if they want to be coached by people that get men and women on the podium at the World Championships, they should check out the Hybrid Engine.
Yep, I was the guy in the warm-up area doing 10K of rowing and 10K of biking and stuff. So I'm at the venue.
And Anthony, sorry, Dave, you already put up your episode, you said, this week?
No, it'll be up soon. It'll be up Thursday.
Okay. What did you just put up then?
I don't know, probably episode from last week. I'm putting up crap all the time.
Okay. Anthony said he just listened to your episode. Is that not true?
That was from last week.
Oh my God. All right. Well, listen, thank you, everybody. And I want to quickly apologize. We say we have episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, and we do, but this Thursday I didn't have one because we knew we were going to be talking to you all day Friday. So yeah.
I want to say thank you to everyone that came up to me at the venue and were like, I heard you on Matt's podcast or on your own podcast. And like, that was awesome. Love talking to everyone, and hope you guys all enjoyed listening. And if you didn't, next time you see me, I have patches. So hit me up. I'm not going to mail them out, but
all right.
if you see me in person.
Thanks for joining us, Shiz, Jabari, Emily, Corey, all the usual suspects, Todd Sholos. Have a great week, everybody.